Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, which I've linked down in the description below, I featured a really interesting team featuring Life Orb, Tailwind, Articuno, Calm Mind Leftovers, Kyogre, Weakness Policy, Solgaleo, Bulldoze, Choice Scarf, Spectrier, Raichu, and Amoonguss. So, looking forward to playing a couple more games with it today. If you've not seen the last episode, I'd highly recommend it. We actually even got a game where we Dynamaxed the Articuno, which I was certainly not expecting. So, thanks so much as always for watching Road to Rank, and thank you to Carmine for the team. His details are in the description below on Twitter, as well as rental and a paste if you want to try it out yourselves. And thanks to you all as always for watching. If you enjoy, please share your support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, with us using Articuno, I want to know what legendary trio you think has the best lore in Pokemon in general. Let me know in the comment section below, and let's get started. Alright, getting into our first game here, and we're actually up against Groudon plus Xerneas. This actually looks like a team that you would have seen in 2016. Just replace Rillaboom. That's really interesting, though. Okay. How good is Raichu here? Not very good. I mean, I do have Nuzzle for Xerneas. Solgaleo's a really good counter into Xern. I don't think I mind, honestly, a Spectre, Solgaleo, Kyogre plus Articuno combo. The reason why I think Articuno is interesting here is because, one, it gives me access to Tailwind, and two, it can also freeze dry into Groudon, into Rillaboom. We even have Weather Ball, which we could potentially take advantage of. So, I don't love Raichu here, I just don't think it really offers me very much. I could have led Raichu plus the Solgaleo, I suppose, but the thing is, I'm not really worried about Fake Out from either Rillaboom or Incin here, because we can just Bulldoze into just a max move immediately. I think this is a very, very good matchup for Solgaleo, and I think Articuno can do some fun stuff here as well. Amoonguss I also don't love because we don't have like an Aqua Berry, so I'm pretty weak into like potential fire type attack from Groudon if they have it, and then from Incin as well. My main question here is the Thundurus. Is it a supportive set or a Dynamax set? I think it being Dynamax makes more sense to me here, but that's where Scarf Spectre is also really valuable because I could just Will-O-Wisp it on turn 1, or I could just go Bulldoze into Max Rockfall on turn 1 as well. A lot of possibilities. So let's see what they opt for here. It's going to be Groudon plus Thundurus. Okay. Honestly, I'm not opposed to a Will-O-Wisp into Groudon immediately. Mainly because I just don't know who's Dynamaxing on turn 1. I mean, what's the alternative? Just Bulldozing? I expect a Groudon max here, actually. I'm kind of down for a Will-O-Wisp onto Groudon. Okay, the thing is though, like, what if they just Dynamax Thundurus here and they just max Airstream into Precipice Blades? You know what? I'm down to Bulldoze, I'm down to Max, and I'm down to just Steel Spike into Groudon here. Because even if you Dynamax Groudon, I'll end up activating my Weakness Policy. And I will also get a defense boost before you can even attack me. They're not maxing Thundurus though, which I would say is not exactly a great sign. I was kind of expecting Groudon to max here, so the idea was maybe switch in Articuno to take a ground type attack, and then burn the Groudon as they potentially Dynamax. But I was like, there's a lot that can go wrong there. Oh, interesting. Okay. So, they don't max Groudon. They actually just go for T-Wave onto Spectre immediately. I can't say I love that, to be honest. But I will get Steel Spike off. The only downside is now I'm getting it off before the Bulldoze. Although, Groudon actually took that decently well, so I wouldn't have knocked it out anyway. Okay, we don't get fully paralyzed, which is good. So, I'll get the Bulldoze off. So, finally getting the Bulldoze plus Policy combination off on Solgaleo. I kind of expect a Swords Dance here then, to be honest. No, they just go for Precipice Blades. Okay. I honestly don't think that's a super bad turn for me. It's probably Thunder Wave now onto Solgaleo. I'm down to switch into Articuno here and actually go for the Rockfall onto the Thundurus. Because by eliminating Thundurus, that paves the path for the rest of my Pokemon. And Articuno can actually Tailwind to allow me to outspeed my opponent once again. Articuno is also nice in this matchup because it gives me a ground type switch in. So yeah, they just T-Wave onto Solgaleo. That's okay. Curious if Groudon outspeeds us here with them being at -1. And yeah, we're actually still faster, which is really nice. So I could have gone for Steel Spike to just KO Groudon there, but I honestly would have rather get rid of Thundurus because Thunder Wave and Eerie Impulse is very annoying for the rest of my team right now. And this defense boost on the Solgaleo honestly goes a very long way. So we'll KO Thundurus. Just opt for Fire Punch, okay. I was gonna say that did a lot, but that's because it was a crit. It's a frustrating crit, but it happens. Okay. The thing is, I still outspeed your Groudon, and you're not KOing me this next turn with the Fire Punch or Precipice Blades. The only downside is I only have one more turn of Dynamax left, but yeah, I'm just really intrigued by the lack of a Dynamax on Groudon on turn 1. I think it actually maybe works out better for my opponent because now they have a late game Dynamax to play towards. But did indeed end up being support Thundurus. Curious, so if you're running Fire Punch though, like, the thing about Groudon is so many sets like to run Swords Dance, Precipice Blades, Rock Slide, Protect, and you actually often drop Fire Punch. I could see Fire Punch making a comeback since like Ferrothorn I feel like is getting more popular in Series 12, and so that obviously helps out against Pharaoh. Just interesting, Groudon plus Xerneas, you know, it's not the same as the old days. Okay, so they bring Xern out. I mean, what are they gonna do here? I honestly don't mind just going for Freeze Dry on a Groudon and then just Steel Spike onto Xern. Like, who do you even max here, right? I guess you could max the Groudon. And then just go for a max Quake. But the thing is, I outspeed with my Solgaleo, so if we don't get fully paralyzed... Like, I feel like Solgaleo is just really good in this matchup. The main downside is getting paralyzed, but we're lucky enough that I haven't gotten full parried any turns yet. Not on the Bulldoze turn, and then not on the turns where you've attacked with Solgaleo. Maybe Tailwind was the smarter play here, actually. Because it sets up Kyogre for success in the endgame. But I do just have a lot of free damage in front of me right now. Okay, they're going to protect the Xerneas. Let's see if Groudon protects as well. Okay, they don't protect. So I get a Life Orb Freeze Dry off here from the Articuno into Groudon. Hey, that's enough for a knockout. Nice. And now I get a huge max Steel Spike through Protect if I don't get fully parried. Okay, Solgaleo's very clutch today. Avoids every single paralysis, so that's huge. And that does 50% to Xerneas just in itself. Wow. Cool, that also gives me a defense boost on both Pokemon. Okay, Xerneas is faster than the Articuno. That's not surprising, given that Articuno's space speed's only, what, 85? Xerneas is obviously substantially higher, but confirms to me that they're not like a, you know, extra bulky Xerneas set. And their last one is Incineroar, wow. Okay. It's like interesting because then it's like, who's the plan to Dynamax, right? Like, who are you planning on maxing here? Feels like it actually has to be instant at this point in the game. This game's not over by any means though. Like, my opponent could still very easily win. I'm going to opt for Tailwind here with Articuno. Actually, should I even bother Tailwinding? If I were my opponent, what would I do here? You could, like, Xerneas just protected, right? So I could, like, easily target that slot. I'm down for Tailwind here, because I can Tailwind into Bulldoze and then set up Kyogre for success. Yeah. And I'll go for an Earthquake here. For some reason, they don't fake out the Solgaleo. Yep, so there's Fake Out. They're probably going to Geomancy now. Yeah. So they have, like, finally gotten Geomancy off, right? It's just, like, is it too late for it to actually work at this point? If I were faster with Articuno, I would have just gone for Life Orb Freeze Dry there, but we knew that we were slower because of the sand interaction the previous turn, so that didn't feel worth it to me. I even wonder if you get the knockout on Solgaleo. If they didn't crit Fire Punch earlier, they might not even have, which is kind of funny. And then I also have the Scarf Spectre, which I can just bring in and, you know, to get some damage off in the late game. Articuno has actually been a lot, like, more clutch than I've expected to, which is always a pleasant surprise. Yeah, I'm down to just Freeze Dry into Xerneas and go for an Earthquake in this position. I wonder if it was worth actually protecting... I actually like protecting Solgaleo here more, I think. Sacrifice Articuno, get a free switch into Spectre, and then just Bulldoze. Although, like, full Paris could easily change things. Also, my opponent still has a Dynamax, right? So that's one other thing to consider. But the thing is, as soon as you, like, if you Dynamax Xerneas, for example, you can only target one Pokemon at a time, which I think makes things harder for them. And it's very unlikely Instant actually carries Protect, so yeah, they actually just opt for Dazzle. Interesting. It's not going to KO Solgaleo, is it? Yeah, it doesn't KO either. Lack of a Dynamax here is interesting as well, but it still comes down to whether or not Solgaleo gets parried here. If we don't get parried, the game's just instantly over. And somehow it's really clutch today and we avoid every single paralysis roll, which is really quite fortunate. So we're going to end up winning this. I think my opponent is not even going to end up Dynamaxing, which is interesting. I feel like Incin here definitely could have Dynamaxed, but what they were probably hoping for was the para here and then max Xerneas later on in the game. Now it's like even if you max Incin, there's really nothing you can do. Pardon Shot is interesting there. I don't really understand that one, to be honest. No, it covers for me switching out, I suppose. Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess one thing I didn't actually consider is that my Spectre was fully paralyzed, and so the Protect Bulldoze play I was talking about doesn't really work out as well. But shout out to Articuno in this one. I mean, picked up a knockout on Groudon, helped set up Tailwind for this endgame as well. My Pokemon were really clutch because they didn't get fully paralyzed at all, and that's not normally something you should count on. Yeah. I should just go for my accurate attacks here. I think Ice Beam's a 2-hit KO from this range anyway. I mean, there's no way they obviously win here, but in an endgame where you have attacks that can miss, might as well just go for the ones that can't when you're so far ahead. It's like Instance never beating Kyogre there, so in this endgame it doesn't really make a difference, but yeah. I'm really happy to put in more performances with Articuno, though. Out of the 4 games we've had between this episode and the previous one, I've brought Articuno to 3, and we've won 2 of the 3, and then the loss was really close as well. Like, it's actually really surprisingly effective as a Tailwind user, which I am very pleasantly surprised by. And so, this one was funky. We didn't get the Weather Ball off, but there were some fun things that we could have maybe done with it. So, yeah, so let's get into this next battle. Okay, Zacian Kyogre. Man, the one time I use Articuno, I somehow don't run into a Gastrodon in any one of my 5 games so far. The Charizard here is so interesting because it's like, where is the sun coming from? Do any of these Pokemon get Sunny Day? Not that I know of, honestly. Huh, that's really intriguing, actually. Tailwind from Articuno here is actually really tempting. What's stopping me from leading Spectre Solgaleo? Man, I haven't had too much success with this duo. Now, last game was probably the best game for it, but there's just like threats of KOing Spectre on turn 1, like with the Sucker Punch, Thunder Wave, Nuzzle, you know, ways to paralyze me. None of those are good for us. I'm also intrigued by Calm on Kyogre. Amoonguss is actually interesting because we've got the Koba, so I can actually take a move from Charizard. I gotta be careful with leading Solgaleo, right? Maybe this is actually a game for Raichu then, because it has Nuzzle and outspeeds Charizard. Okay, I haven't brought Raichu at all while using this team, so I'm gonna give it a shot here. I still think Articuno's okay here. It obviously is a very nice matchup into the Kyogre. Not so much into Zacian. I don't know, Spectre as a lead is also okay here, but they have 2 potential Sucker Punch users. I think it's highly, like, relatively unlikely they'd actually Sucker Punch me on turn 1, but that would actually just completely stop my strategy. They go with Togedemaru plus Kyogre. Okay, so we're in for an interesting one. I gotta charge my controller. I mean, what's stopping me from just going Fake Out, Max, and then just Quake on turn 1? I'm down for that, honestly. I guess they could switch out the Togedemaru. Nope, no switch. That's already good. The main reason I want to eliminate Togedemaru so early on is because I just don't want to get... I didn't need to do that, right? Because I don't have to worry about you paralyzing me. But the thing is, if I don't click Fake Out on a Togedemaru, then they just Fake Out into the Raichu, right? And that's not great, so I'd rather just prevent it. And they're going to max Kyogre, which I'm honestly okay with, because Solgaleo is going to get a special defense boost, given that we're faster. So, yeah, I think this turn 1 works out well for us, regardless of what Togedemaru goes for. Spiky Shield would actually be a really strong option from their end, because then you prevent the Fake Out, you chip the Raichu enough where then maybe a Geyser just KOs the Raichu. Ooh, that'd actually be a really spicy play. Nicely done! Nicely done, nicely done. So I could have gone like Brutal Swing into a Quake onto the Kyogre slot instead. It's still honestly okay for me. I'm just wondering if Raichu can maybe survive thanks to the special defense boost, but that was a really good play to find. And it's a really safe one on their end as well, right? But the thing is, I can punish it heavily by going for the Brutal Swing into Quake on Kyogre, because then I still have my Focus Sash intact on the Raichu, and then the next turn I could just Brutal Swing, but the thing is, now they can Nuzzle me. Ooh, interesting. They opt for Hailstorm. I don't know if that gets the knockout. Yeah, it does not. Why Hailstorm there over Geysering? Do you cover for any switch-in options? Not even particularly, to be honest. I think that makes this game a lot tougher for my opponent, quite frankly. I'll take it. Very pleasant surprise. I'm definitely down for a Brutal Swing here. Get that policy going. I don't want Togedemaru to paralyze anything, so I think here I'm down for a Brutal Swing into a Max Steel Spike on Togedemaru. Because that covers for them switching out into anything. They're just going to stay in. I did not see that coming. Whoa. And they're going to change the weather back into rain. That's fascinating. That's very cool. Endure Togedemaru. Did not see that one coming. Does that get access to Endeavor as well? I honestly don't remember. Yep, there's Geyser now. Wow, that Endure actually changes everything. If they didn't have it, I feel like we'd be in a very commanding / game-winning position, but very cool tech. So Spiky Shield, Endure. What's the rest of your moveset? Kyogre or Articuno? I honestly want to bring out Articuno just to try to get a Tailwind up, honestly. If I go into Kyogre, I risk getting paralyzed. Oh, that wouldn't even be that bad, to be honest. I think I'd rather go into Articuno, because Articuno's not very good against Zacian, whereas Kyogre is very good against Zacian. Okay, so I'm down for a Tailwind here. Would I rather get a special defense or defense boost right now? Their back two are probably Urshifu plus Zacian, right? Yeah, that's most likely the case. Okay, I'm down to Tailwind Quake the Kyogre here. I need some damage onto Kyogre at this point in the game. You go for Nuzzle, so they're going to paralyze Solgaleo, but the Tailwind essentially negates that, so I'm okay with that. That Endure changes everything, because the whole idea was to prevent Solgaleo from getting paralyzed, but somehow I've got my Solgaleo paralyzed 2 games in a row. Okay. So now I've got Tailwind, I've got Kyogre in the back, which is obviously valuable. They are going to Geyser, probably into Articuno. I'm actually fine with Articuno fainting here to get a free switch in into Kyogre. But we actually survive. Okay. My Articuno can't protect, which is a downside. I just don't know if EQ, like Rock Slide or Sun Steel Strike, knock out Kyogre here. So I almost feel forced to Freeze Dry and EQ here. Kyogre could obviously protect though. We'll see if they opt for it. Okay, they don't opt for it. That's huge. Articuno's getting so much value for us today. Ooh, I don't KO. That's fine though, right? Because EQ will just finish both off, but... Today we've really pushed our luck with paralysis, honestly, so I'm like bound to get fully paralyzed, and if not, then it's just an incredibly lucky day. But somehow we don't. Wow, that's amazing. Endure just changed everything, because if you don't have that, Togedemaru just faints, you don't paralyze my Solgaleo, and then you're forced to bring something else. Like, my idea is I can ignore Kyogre in this game, because like I'm faster with Solgaleo, I get special defense boosts via Max Quake, so you're not really much of a threat. But Articuno's like been able to set up Tailwind in every game I've brought it out in so far, which is so cool. Yep, there's Urshifu. And Zacian. Okay, so the 2 Pokemon they have in the back are basically the 2 we expected. I've got Tailwind up. I mean, I think here I'm just going to Origin Pulse. Do I want to EQ here? It'd be a lot of damage onto my own Kyogre. But it's so much onto their end as well. I'm just afraid of them double protecting here. And since I have Tailwind up, I'm down for Rock Slide. I don't want to damage myself here, especially if they double protect. Okay, neither Pokemon protect. It could just be Wicked Blow into Play Rough, and I don't really have too much counterplay to that. Okay. They miss Play Rough, though. Does Wicked Blow one-shot me? Oh my gosh, Solgaleo, you're so clutch. I do miss Rock Slide on the Urshifu. Okay. Could have gone for Sunsteel Strike there instead then. But I was lucky enough to be in this position given the Play Rough miss. Although I'm not sure Play Rough one-shots Kyogre because this is ultra bulky Kyogre, but the problem is now my opponent can just double protect. It's still going to be a very close finish. Had I gone for Sunsteel Strike there, I would have gotten a KO and then most likely have won the game. So that was probably the better bet, but I was afraid of like Urshifu protecting and then I just blow a Sunsteel Strike into it. So the idea was to get chip onto Zacian while also knocking out Urshifu, but I get punished for making a suboptimal play there, so that happens. Okay. Zacian protects. I mean, it should just be a double protect, right? If you don't double protect, I actually... Oh, you could Sucker Punch, I suppose. But yeah, it's a double. Okay. So I'm just going to Origin Pulse into EQ now. When basically I think what this boils down to is... One, does Play Rough one-shot Kyogre? This is like max HP or near max HP Kyogre with some defense investment as well. Range stopping also may be a problem because I'm not sure we actually get the knockout onto Zacian now. We should. I should have Calm Minded there though because I think they're always double protecting. And I will actually go for the Earthquake here. The Rock Slide ended up being the worst choice out of all three moves I could have opted for. Okay, so they're gonna... Ooh, interesting. If you're doubling up onto Kyogre, I'm not even sure you get the knockout here to be honest. Oh, these spreads. These EV spreads are so good. No way. And then Origin Pulse just gets the double knockout now, right? Yeah, both Pokemon surviving just with the sliver of HP. So that's why I was expecting Kyogre to survive the Play Rough earlier as well. I should have Sunsteel Strike with Solgaleo, I think, because I didn't have to worry about them protecting, because if they're protecting, it means they're not getting an attack off. If they're not getting an attack off, it means you're not doing very much into Solgaleo. But both of our Pokemon surviving with just a little bit of HP, and then Articuno coming in, and honestly, putting in a lot of work in both games, getting Tailwind up, getting Freeze Dry up. So yeah, I'm just like so pleasantly surprised. And part of it helps, right? We're going up against Groudon and Kyogre. Those are both restricted that Articuno would prefer to go up against. But I'm just so happy to have good performances with it. So let's look for another one. All right, getting into our next one of the day here. And it's Kyurem-Zacian, Tornadus, Thundurus, Porygon, and Incineroar. That is such an interesting composition. I'm already happy enough. Like, I managed to feature all the Pokemon on this team at least once between the two episodes, including the last one. And then Articuno came in what, 4 of the 5 games? So, I'm just sad we didn't go up against a single Gastrodon somehow, and that's like what this Articuno is designed for. Those like Kyogre Gastrodon teams, or those teams with Gastrodon to counter Kyogre. Kyurem White Tailwind support, that's scary. I think I'm intrigued by Raichu here. The main reason is because like Spectre can't drop Tornadus or Thundurus' speed. So I like the Raichu Solgaleo combo again. Kyogre in the back. I don't know about Articuno in this one. The main reason to bring it would be to set up Tailwind, but I think it's a little bit sketchier here. And I'm slightly more intrigued by the idea of Amoonguss, especially because we have Koba Berry. The problem with Amoonguss, though, is it's very weak into Kyurem White. I think Kyurem White's a really cool pick here, and I actually think it's probably one of the more underrated restricted mons at the moment. Like, you know, I feel like the majority of people are using teams that feature a combination of Kyogre, Groudon, Yveltal, Zacian, obviously. Just those 4 alone are super good. You can throw in Calyrex, Shadow Rider, and Ice Rider to the mix there as well. Incin plus Thundurus. Okay. Man, Spectre actually would have been decent here if they were offensive Thundurus, because I could just Will-O-Wisp it. Turn 1's tricky. Because they can just fake out into the Raichu. Although, I guess, like, what is Thundurus really doing offensively here? I don't even know if you two-shot Raichu, to be honest. Okay, for that reason, I'm honestly down to just fake out Incin, Dynamax Solgaleo, and then just Rockfall into Thundurus. There's also a decent chance this isn't even offensive Dynamax Thundurus. I could also see them pivoting Incin out. Okay, they're not maxing Thundurus. You can't Thunder Wave me this time around, though, with Raichu. I just don't want to get paralyzed on Solgaleo for the 3rd game in a row. Like, that's what I was trying to avoid this whole time, and somehow I still ended up getting paralyzed, but Solgaleo's been really clutch today. Like, I think we very easily could have lost either game 1 or game 2 with the 1 or 2 bad full paras, and so even though we did win them, I don't love that I just let myself get paralyzed. Like, that doesn't feel amazing. Thundurus doesn't max, so what is it going for? Huh, scary face, okay. Well, unfortunately I do break my own Focus Sash this way. This will deny me Brutal Swing. Ideally, Rockfall doesn't get the knockout here, because then I can just Brutal Swing the subsequent turn. Well, I guess you could actually double up onto... No, Thundurus shouldn't have any offense into it, so then it's a question of does Flare Blitz KO? I can even Steel Spike here with Solgaleo to get a defense boost to survive a potential Flare Blitz from the Incineroar. I'm actually pretty intrigued by that idea. Yeah, because you're faster now. Thundurus can taunt, so you can't really T-Wave, though, which is in our favor. So yeah, I'm down for Brutal Swing here. Get that policy going. And then I'm down for a Steel Spike here just to ensure that my Raichu survives a Flare Blitz. Because Thundurus, like, Solgaleo really is super good against it, right? Especially with the Raichu support. You can't Thunder Wave thanks to Lightning Rod. You can't Scary Face thanks to our ability. You can't Thunderbolt because of Raichu being out. So it's like, what else do you have? Probably Taunt, Eerie Impulse. Like, Thundurus just is really countered by the Raichu here, which is nice. I wonder what they were going for turn 1. Probably just... Okay, they switched Thundurus out, which I'm okay with, because I went for Steel Spike here. And they bring in Zacian. Okay, beautiful. So this should allow me to survive Flare Blitz from Incin, get a defense boost, and then get the policy. Haha! That is smart. Okay, I like that. I wonder if we can still survive a Max Flare, maybe? I mean, if you're doing this, like, I feel like you must be targeting... The reason this is smart, by the way, let me finish my first thought. So you must be targeting Raichu, I would think. But the reason I think this is really smart is because you don't really want to max Kyurem in this matchup anyway. So it's like, well, might as well max the Incineroar to like potentially survive an attack and also just maybe knock out the Raichu outright. Steel Spike is not a 2-hit KO on Zacian. Looks like a damage roll, so that's not great. I think this really comes down to whether or not I get the Bulldoze, or not the Bulldoze. Wait, they targeted Solgaleo? Okay. That's a pleasant surprise. They're just going to activate policy for me. Wow. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's not what I expected at all. Well, that's a waste of a Brutal Swing, but that's fine. Could you imagine if I nuzzled there? Would have been so sweet. I'll take it, though, honestly. This has played out a lot better than I've expected it to. I almost wonder if I want to actually just conserve the, Raichu now. I mean, what does conserving this do, though, really, right? I'm not a Volt Switch here into Incin and then just Steel Spike into Zacian. I can see Zacian protecting, but it's like then I get another defense boost. Yeah, they just opt for Sacred Sword. That's fine. Wow, Raichu survives. It's the nice thing about having some HP investment on Raichu. I gotta say, the EV spreads on this team have helped me so much, right? Like, Raichu just survived here in the previous turn, or previous game. Both the Solgaleo and the Kyogre with their EV spreads allowed me to survive, so... You know, you often have to give up a little bit of offense in order to take these attacks, but it's gone such a long way for us. They opt for Darkness rather than Flare, despite the sun being up. Okay. I think this is just like a matchup where you can see they have no damage into Solgaleo, honestly, and so we're getting so much out of this. Like, Raichu surviving and being able to conserve it is nice, because now I can switch it in case they, like, try to Thunder Wave me or anything. But I think here I'm down to just go into Kyogre immediately. Change the weather. Put on pressure against the Incineroar. The Incin Max made sense, but I thought they had to target the Raichu there because it's like then you deny me weakness policy, but then it's like now I actually got my policy activated because they flared me and my Raichu ended up surviving. So like, you spent 2 turns of Dynamax with Incin, and what have you gotten out of it? Not really too much, right? Okay, Kyurem comes out now. No surprise there. My Dynamax is finally over. Oh, maybe I should have gone for Quake last turn, because I'm not sure I survive against the Kyurem here. Calm Mind is actually interesting, but I think I'd rather just Origin Pulse here. I'm not going to go for a Protect. I'm just going to Rock Slide here as well. Like, we have all the pressure right now in terms of damage, so I don't mind going for this. And the thing is, I can bring Raichu back out now that I've gotten rid of the Speed Drop, and then Scary Face Kyurem later on. Sorry, not Scary Face, Nuzzle it, thus paralyzing it. Okay, they just go for Earth Power. Targeting Kyogre, so really reading into a Solgaleo Protector switch. That's exactly why I didn't want to go for it. Because it's like, let's say you target the Solgaleo and you get the knockout there. It's fine, right? Because I still get a... That is why you Dynamax Incineroar. Wow, it's weakness policy. That makes so much more sense. I didn't even think about that as a possibility, but like in this game I had very little incentive to target Incineroar. Like if anything, we actually wanted to stay out on the field, because if we basically play around the Incineroar, it doesn't do anything for my opponent, right? That explains the Thundurus Incin lead though, because at first I was like, well, if you're leading support Thundurus and support Incin, like you have no damage output whatsoever, so like what is the purpose of this lead and what does it accomplish? But now it makes a lot more sense. Raichu was the MVP in this one though, and I'm so glad to feature like just how good it can be, because Thundurus is a really big nuisance in the format, and you know, it could be support Thundurus, it could be offensive Thundurus, but the thing is Raichu doesn't really care about either, truthfully, so yeah. We can just Ice Beam and Steel Spike and that'll be game. What a fun set of games though. We ran into some really interesting teams, and I feel like we featured a lot of different modes today, so I'm really happy about it. But yeah, I think in Game 1 and Game 2, I definitely got fairly lucky, avoiding a lot of potential full paralysis, just with all the turns I was paralyzed. And a lot of techs, right? I didn't expect the Endure on the Togedemaru in that second game, and then in this one, I definitely did not expect Policy Incin, but if anything, like, it didn't affect the game at all and actually made things easier for me, because I think my opponent was trying to bait me into targeting. It makes so much more sense, right? Like the turn that they switched Thundurus out into Zacian, they're probably expecting, I don't know, me to just go for like a Quake onto the Incin, so they're thinking, well, okay, I'm just going to be able to get a huge amount of damage off, and even if I activate Policy, it's okay. But they risked a lot on that turn, and they got very little out of it in the end. So the beautiful thing about Solgaleo is that it can, you know, boost its defenses via Max Steel Spike and Max Quake, allowing it to survive for a little bit longer, and that's really, really essential when you're going up against Pokemon that want to Dynamax and then like are slower than you, right? So the other thing to talk about in that game was Kyurem targeting the Kyogre there in the end. It's also interesting they opted for Earth Power rather than, like, I wonder if they just don't have Freeze Dry then. So Draco, Earth Power, I wonder what else it was running. But the idea is like, okay, well, actually, because the Incineroar was Policy, had they targeted Solgaleo, Origin Pulse there doesn't do too much to Kyurem, and I would have actually activated the Policy on the Incin. Incin then would probably go for a Max Darkness there into Kyogre, which I'd expect to survive, but then things get more interesting. But then I think I just bring out Raichu, I just fake out the Kyurem, Origin Pulse again, so then as long as we don't miss Origin Pulses, we should be okay. I still have Nuzzle. The problem, though, is that Amoonguss was my final Pokemon, and that actually doesn't offer me anything in the end game. And so, yeah, since they were Policy there, maybe they actually could have pulled off a comeback if they just launched Earth Power into Solgaleo, but that may have been a situation where my opponent was like, well, I'm so far behind anyway, I need to make like a lot of predictions to win the game. Just Earth Powering, you know, Solgaleo doesn't necessarily do it for me, so they targeted Kyogre instead. But yeah, the thing is, like, you don't do enough damage there anyway, so I think what they were probably hoping for was... yeah, Solgaleo Protect and Earth Power into Max Darkness gets the knockout onto Kyogre as I activate Policy via Origin Pulse. And by going for Earth Power, you also reduce the amount of damage from potential Water Spell, because if I had Water Spell and I'm like Mystic Water there, I might actually just knock out the Incin anyway. So I can definitely see why they targeted the Kyogre there, but ends up working out pretty well for us. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed using this team. This is probably my favorite team I've featured so far in Series 12, just because it's really competitively viable. You know, we're kind of hovering the top 200, top 100 on the ladder the whole time we used it. And it obviously features some really fun sets like Calm Mind Leftovers, Kyogre, Articuno with the Life Orb, and the Choice Scarf Spectrier with Policy Solgaleo. So yeah, thanks so much as always for watching. Details for the team are in the description below. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.